Uh, these are the notes for section 3.3. I will go through my notes and go through some examples. If you have any questions, make sure that you see me during my office hours to go over anything. I'm going to share my screen with you and go through my notes and examples on section 3.3, percentiles and the box and whisker plot. Section 3.3, percentiles in the box and whisker plot. A percentile is a number that represents the percent of data that falls at a certain value or below. So for example one here, if you score a 72nd percentile in an exam, it means that you scored the same or better than 72 people who took the same exam. Once again, a percentile is the percent that scored your value or below. You could also look at it if you're the 72nd percentile, that 28% of the people who took the exam scored better than you. For the second example I have down below, I'll give you some data. The data is 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 9, 12, 12, 13, and 15. The 9 represents the 64th percentile. Your question is, how did I know that 9 represents the 64th percentile? Well, to figure out what a percentile is, you count how many pieces of data there actually are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of data. And then you also count how many pieces of data are at your value that you're looking for, in this case, 9 and below. If you're looking here, how many are 9 or below? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I take 7 divided by 11, I get approximately 63.63%. So that is what makes it the 64th percentile. To go through another example like that, the 12 represents the 82nd percentile. Once again, now I'm dealing with the number 12. I still have 11 pieces of data, but if I count how many are 12 or below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 out of the 11 are 12 or below. That's roughly 81.81%. Round that to the nearest whole number. That's how I got the 82nd percentile for the number 12. Once again, it is how many scored the same value or below. So in the first example, there was only one 9, so I counted at the 9 and below. In the second example, there were two 12s. You need to count both the 12s and below. It's how many were at your value or below when you figure out a percentile. Next thing the book looks at, they look at four special percentiles. There's the 100th percentile, the 75th percentile, the 50th percentile, and the 25th percentile. Two of these we've already talked about. We've talked about the 50th percentile. That is also known as the median. 50th percent, what is in the middle? That's the median. And we have also talked about the 100th percentile. The 100th percentile is 100% is at value and below, so that would have to be the maximum. The other two special percentiles is the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. The 25th percentile is also known as the first quartile, or Q1. 25%, one quarter, the first quartile. And then that makes the 75th percentile 75%, or three quarters, the third quartile. So those are four special percentiles. The 100th percentile, also known as the maximum, the 75th percentile, also known as Q3, the 50th percentile, known as the median, and the 25th percentile, known as Q1. If you take these four special percentiles along with the minimum, You take the four special percentiles along with the minimum, they give you what is called the five-number summary. Those five numbers, the maximum, Q3, the median, Q1, and the minimum, that is what's known as the five-number summary. There are some other special values. The distance between the first and the third quartile is known as the interquartile range. And once again, just as we discussed with a regular range, the interquartile range also has to always be positive. And the way that you find the interquartile range is by taking Q3 minus Q1. By putting Q3 first and subtracting Q1, that guarantees you that that distance will always be positive. Question is, we talked about how to find the minimum, the maximum, and the median. How do you find the quartiles? Well, in order to find the quartiles, you must find the median first. That means your data has to be in order. So first find the median, and then after you find the median, the first quartile is the middle or the median of the lower 50%, and then the third quartile is the median or the middle of the upper 50%. You'll see this as we go through examples. If you wanted to make a graph of the five-number summary, that graph is called a box and whisker plot. Down below here, I have an example. The minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. Those five numbers give you what you need for the box and whisker plots. This part is called the lower whisker. This part is called the upper whisker. Going from the minimum, the Q1, that is the lower whisker, going from Q3 to the maximum, that is the upper whisker. And then, of course, the rectangle is your box. So if you make a rectangle between Q1 and Q3, that is your box. And then you draw a vertical line down through your median. So you have your lower whisker, your upper whisker, your box, and your median that make up your box and whisker plots. Notice once again, when we draw the graph, our numbers are consistent. We went by twos in this case. We'll do some other examples where we don't always go by twos. And then you will plot your points. Each section of the box and whisker plot, the lower whisker, the upper whisker, the upper half of the box, the lower half of the box. Each of these sections represents 25% of the data. So 25% is here, 25% is here, 25% is here, 25% is here. So each whisker is 25%, and the whole box is worth 50%. The rest of the notes in this section is just going through examples of if you're given data, can you find the five-number summary? Once you find the five-number summary, can you make a box and whisker graph from that data? So here is an example one. I already put the numbers in order. First thing I would do, find the maximum, find the minimum. Of course, the maximum is going to be 58. The minimum is going to be 10. And then before you can find the Q1 or the Q3, you have to find the minimum. So if I count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There is a middle number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is your median. Once again, your median is the number that is in the middle. To find your Q1, you want to look at the lower half, and your Q1 is in the middle of your lower half. And the middle of your lower half in this case is 17. And then to find your Q3, you look up at the upper half, and your Q3 in this case is 42. So there is your five number summary: 10, 17, 27, 42, and 58. So I'm going to make the box and whisker plot down here. Notice my smallest number is 10, my highest number is 58. So when I made my number line, I started at 10 and I went up to 80. My consistency is I went by tens. So I'm going to put a point above the number line for each of my five number summaries. So there's my minimum. My maximum would be around 17, which will be there. Sorry, my Q1 is 17, which will be there. My median would be approximately there. My Q3 or upper quartile around 42, which would be there, and 58, which would be there. So I took each of my five number summaries. I placed a dot above my number line where each of those numbers would be. And then I make my whiskers, make my box, and then the last thing I do, draw a line down through my media. So there would be my box and whisker plot for example number one's data. If I take a look at example number two, once again, find the easy things first. My maximum is 15. My minimum is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there is no middle. So I count 5 from the left. I count 5 to the right. The median is going to be between 6 and 9. And if you want to know what's between 6 plus 9, 6 plus 9 is 15. Divide by 2, my median turns out to be 7.5. Once again, Q1 is the middle of the lower half. So there is my Q1. My Q3 is the middle of the upper half. So there is my Q3. I have my minimum, I have my Q1, I have my median, I have my Q3, I have my max. My minimum is at 3, my maximum is at 15. So when I go to draw my graph, I'm going to go a little bit less than my minimum, go a little bit more than my max. So I have to go from 2 to 16. In this case, I'm going by twos. Once again, I would draw a dot above the line for each of my numbers of my five number summary. There is 3. There is 4. There is 7.5. There is 12. And there is 15. Make your whiskers. Draw your box. And draw your line down through your median. So there is my data with my five number summary. And then there is my box and whisker plot. I do have one last example here. Looking here, my minimum would be 5. My maximum would be 60. If I count how many pieces of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, There is no minimum, sorry, there is no median per se. My median would be the number between 18 and 32. 18 plus 32 is 50. Half of 50 is 25. So my median there is 25. My Q1 is halfway of the lower half. Once again, there are only four numbers there. So my Q1 is going to be there. 6 plus 12 is 18. Half of 18 is 9. On the other side, halfway between 48 and 54. So there is my Q3. I add 48 plus 54 together, divide by 2, and my Q3 turns out to be 51. So when I go to graph this, I want to start a little bit smaller than 5, go a little bit bigger than 60. So I'm going to go by tens once again, starting at 0. My first dot is at 5. My second dot is at 9. Now my next dot is at 25. My next dot is at 51. And my last dot is at 60. I have my whiskers. I have my box. And I have my median. So given a data set, once again, make sure your numbers are in order. For these examples, I already had the numbers in order. Some of the examples out of the book will not be in order. Make sure your numbers are in order first. Find your five number summary. Once you have your five number summary, you should be able to make your box and whisker plot. So on your quiz for this section, once again, I'm going to give you data. You need to be putting your data in order. You need to be able to find your five number summary. And then you need to be able to make a box and whisker plot. The number one mistake in this section is when people are putting their data in order, they either forget to put a number or they repeat a number they shouldn't repeat. So take your time when you're putting your data in order and make sure that you're not forgetting any pieces of data or you're not putting extra pieces of data in that are not there because that will throw off your results. All right, and that's the end of the notes for section 3.3.